Hello. This lecture presents a thought experiment by the great British 20th century moral philosopher Bernard Williams called the Amoralist. We distinguish between prudence and morality. Prudence is the pursuit of rational self-interest, the rational pursuit of self-interest. It needs no motivation, of course. Having distinguished morality from it, what motivates morality? In particular, we have the traditional challenge to the whole enterprise of morality of the question, why should I be moral? The Amoralist is a thought experiment which considers that question. The Amoralist is someone who claims that he can stay outside of the institution of morality, that he's not immoral, he's not an evil guy. He just claims that he doesn't need it, or he doesn't need to pay any attention to it. And if we can get morality going against him, then we will have motivated it in general. So let's begin with this question, Williams says. He starts with the question, why should I do anything? Now, the question, he says, is immediately ambiguous. Two possible meanings include, why should I do anything? Everything is meaningless. The second would be, why should I do anything that I don't want to do? So again, we contrast morality with prudence at this point. Asked in the first sense, Williams says, this question does not pose a challenge to morality because morality is all about reasons, reason giving, justification. And it's not at all clear that it would be possible to reason somebody into caring about something. Asked in the first sense, this person has no interest, cares about nothing. Now, perhaps we could reason him, in a sense, into caring about something by finding something he does care about, that he had just forgotten about. But doing that would not be providing him with new reasons for caring about something. We just find something he already cares about. So, if asked in the first sense, if this person is a fiend and not for morality in particular, asked in the second sense, does present the genuine challenge. This person, the moralist, does have interests, does have things he wants to do. And again, so if we can get morality going, we should be able to get it going against him. The next thing we have to do then, since he claims he can stay outside of the institution of morality, is to find out what he has to avoid. These will be familiar to us. Most of them would be included in what we've called customary morality. First, he could not care about other people's interests. He could not be inclined to tell the truth or to keep promises if it doesn't suit his own interests. And everything would be instrumental to him to accomplishing his own ends. In other words, he claims that there is no source of having ends that he doesn't already have. He could not be disposed to rejecting actions because they're unfair or selfish. Again, those would be included in our customary morality for the most part. Next, and in particular, particularly important for us, he could not have the thought that if it's all right for him to act the way he does, then it would be all right for anyone else to do the same. Now, again, Williams says this question is ambiguous, or rather, the statement is ambiguous. In the first sense, it could mean I simply won't moralize about it. I don't care. They can do what they want. He's not taking a position one way or the other with respect to his relationships to other people. The other sense is I permit it. Now, think about that. Pretty clearly, he cannot have that. Why? Permission involves a moral notion. Permission entails reasons, again. This So if he asks the question, if he has the thought, I permit, it's all right for other people to act this way, in the sense of I permit it. Of course, permission would be trafficking in reasons, something that he cannot do. All right, so now the question is, what would the nature of his relationships be to other people? Now let's think about this guy. This is somebody who's monstrous. This is somebody who would have to be emotionally calloused. He couldn't care about what other people think about him. He'd have to be physically powerful, fast, and very intelligent. You'd have to be something like Gyges in Plato's Republic, where Gyges is this another thought experiment that Socrates in the dialogue the Republic introduces, or it's actually introduced by somebody else to Socrates. Why should I be just, is the question. Why should anybody be just? It's the same question, that justice suits our purposes. It's good to have a reputation to be just, but the speaker wants to know why one should be just independently of it suiting one's interests. So he imagines that there's this guy, Gyges, who's a shepherd. Gyges is out tending his flock, and through some cosmic coincidence, there's this tremendous storm and an earthquake at the same time. And he looks down into the ground, and there's a burial chamber down there. He climbs down. There's this sarcophagus, big gold coffin, which he opens, and there's a body inside with a ring on its finger. He takes the ring, he climbs out, he goes back to the campfire where his fellow shepherds are. They're talking as if he's not there. He fusses with the ring on his finger, twists it a bit, and they acknowledge his presence. Soon he discovers that this ring makes him invisible. Now the question is, so he's like superhuman at this point. How should he behave relative to other people? The shepherds have to send a report back to the king about how the flocks are doing. Gyges volunteers. He goes to the king. He kills the king. He takes up with the queen, takes over the kingdom. Why not? Why shouldn't he do this? The Amoralist would be somebody like this, perhaps, or believes that he is. Okay, so what's the nature of his relationship to other people? He can resist them, but he cannot resent them. That is, he can fight back. So we want him to be consistent in his amorality. Fighting back, resisting is consistent. That doesn't involve any reasons, reason giving to other people, but he cannot resent it. To resent implies a belief that somebody ought not to have done that. And of course, if he says to somebody who's trying to stop him, don't do that, they might well ask, well, why not? What can he say? Once he gives an answer, he's playing the moral game in giving reasons. All right, so obviously what we have here in the amoralist is a parasite on the moral system. He's expecting other people to act in a way that he does not. He can deny it. But what if you asked him, what if everyone acted like you do? He wouldn't be impressed by the question. He might say, well, in the resulting chaos, I suppose I'll do better than most people, but that's about it. He also could not or should not consider himself excellent in some way, that admirable, that other people ought to or would act as he does, were they able to, because excellence and virtue are moral notions. So where are we with this guy? We got this far because remember the first question, why should I do anything? We distinguish between the guy who has no interests and the guy who does. The amoralist is somebody who does have interests. It really doesn't matter what up to this point, it hasn't mattered what his interests are. It could be power, pleasure, stamp collecting, really doesn't matter. But if we're going to get any farther at this point, we have to ask whether he cares about any other person. Because if he doesn't, he's a psychopath and there's no hope for him. He'd be interesting, perhaps. because he appalls us. And it's important that we determine why he appalls us. But he wouldn't represent, say, an alternative lifestyle or something. If he's not a psychopath, then he has the idea of what it is to do something for another person because that person needs something. Now, we're not quite within morality yet because he chooses to help other people only when he wants to. Even so, Williams says, when he does want to, what he wants to do is to help them in their need. He thinks they need help immediately in response to it, not I like them and they need help. There's no reasoning prudentially from this. It's an immediate response to their need. This person, at that point, would be capable of thinking in terms of other people's interests. And his failure to be a moral agent at this point, if he's not a psychopath, could be resolved by extending his imagination. He's childlike at this point, just as children need to be brought into the moral community, don't they? I mean, children are little beasts, aren't they? Dad taking a nap on the couch, and a 2-year-old kid comes along with a truck and boom, hits him in the face. What are you going to do? So, children are only gradually brought into the moral community, and that's it requires their imagination. They need to be able to imagine other people's their effects on other people, what other people need. But that's about it. If we can have that, then we are automatically within the moral community.